Hello everyone. This is the first episode of Bridging Talks by Bridging Connect, and I'm your host, Majid Hashmi, the founder of, well, there we go, Bridging Connect. In our very first episode, we have Eunnara Jo, who is the CEO and founder of Jolo Trading and JOEL Localization. So, welcome to the podcast, our very first podcast, Eunnara. So,
Hi Majid. Thank you so much for having me. I've been in a few pockets, but I think this is the first time I'm in episode number one.
oh
So
well,
yeah, it feels special.
it's our pleasure, Eunnara. So,
Y-
yeah, we
yeah,
met through last year. It was through actually, we just connected on LinkedIn and I liked what you were doing. And after reading about what you're looking in, what you're doing, and your blogs and everything, I thought you'd be a great guest for our first episode.
thank you, and congratulations on the kickoff of this. Happy to celebrate the
Oh, good.
episode number one of your new channel.
Okay, so let's dive into your career history and how you started up first. So, what made you go into localization? And yeah, just can you just tell us a bit about like how you got into localization and how you managed to find this company called JOEL Localization and Trading?
Sure. So first I started off my career as a conference interpreter. I went to a graduate school of translation and interpretation. So it was natural for me to start my career as a conference interpreter. And then I was a project manager at a large language service firm for a few years. And then I felt like I was ready to offer my own service with all the resources that I have and the experience that I have, especially with all the expert linguists that I know from my graduate school, right? Because you can cover like many combinations of languages. So that's how dual localization started. That one started first, and the other business I have founded and am running is JOEL Trading. So I think both are pretty self-explanatory in its name in terms of what I do for like underage business. But to walk you through briefly, with JOEL Localization, as you can tell from the name, we provide localization service. So that encompasses like various types of service, most commonly including translation, wider product and service localization, of course, and also corporate event solution is one of our key services where we include not only interpreters for the international speakers of your conference, but also the whole equipment, the event equipment and the sound system. So it's a turnkey system for your conference. So you can localize your product and launch it in a new market. If you're going to launch it in Korea, in your launch event, you can like hold a conference with us and we prep the system and get the interpreter for you. So that's how it works. With dual trading, that was also pretty clear with the import and export.
Okay.
At the moment, most primarily between Korea and India.
Oh, right.
And out of the items that I handle for B2B, I have selected out a few items that I personally like and turn it into a customer brand.
Oh, that sounds great. So, yeah. And curious about like what problem are you trying to solve right now? So, as I like with globalization, there are some problems in the market. So, what problems have you personally tried to uh, fix through when you come across people, when you're helping people from localization? So, what common problems are you facing and how are you solving them?
That's a good question. There are a lot of common like mistakes that companies make when they first start going global and start working on localization. But I think it would help if I like explain the concept of localization first, because even though it is like what all the international businesses are doing, it seems that the term itself can sound unfamiliar for some people. So I find it helpful to explain it a bit at the beginning of any podcast. So like my definition of localization refers to all sorts of efforts to find the right product market fit in each market that you're entering. It almost always includes translation, of course, and or interpretation as part of it. You have to consider the language, the culture, the characteristic of the target market, and all such factors to adapt your product and service and content accordingly. So everything resonates in the most relevant way possible for each market. That's how I would describe localization, and that's why our localization service is much more comprehensive than just translation. Back to your question about common mistakes or challenges that companies face. Um, there are many.
Yeah.
I think one is considering only translation as a scope for localization, while you actually have to like there are things that you have to like discuss and set from the beginning, from the get-go, to prevent duplicate work. And those things that would like thread through your common brand identity. Like it could be product name and brand names in the local market, or your brand's tone and voice, cultural references very oftentimes, etc. But if you only look at the translation part, and if you think that translating your content will be enough for you to enter the market, from that misunderstanding of the scope, of course, comes underestimation of time and budget that has to be invested in. That is a big one when you do not work with an expert who has been handling a large localization project before. So another one is this is kind of related,
Yeah.
but lack of scalability, I find, is another common blocker if you want to add more languages to your portfolio after a certain level of growth in your domestic market. So I'm not going to go into details of how to try, but if your product is built in a way that does not consider addition of multiple languages from the initial setting, even though you're not considering it at the beginning, you want to set it up that way in a more scalable way with more languages for later, because if you want to add it later, it can be very difficult to do so later. It will cause almost always cost duplicate work. You'll have to go back and redo so much of the work. So I think those are some of the most common challenges that companies face when they're at an initial stage of localization.
Yeah. So thanks for that. So yeah, there are many problems indeed, but you just touched on some of them. So yeah, thanks for that.
Mhm.
And since you're from Korea and you've seen Korean companies going global, can you just give us an example of any company that you've helped? You don't have to mention the names, but in terms of like what, where were they and how you helped them? So meaning with your help, what did they get and where are they now?
Sure.
There can be anything you
Um,
like. So just a little case study we just want to hear.
There are many, but now that we're talking about Korea and some examples of Korea, I can think of one company, one partner that worked with us that is
Yeah.
very Korean.
Right.
It is Korea Heritage Agency.
Right.
They, so they do all the work related to maintaining and preserving Korean heritage sites like the palace and other historical sites, etc.
Oh,
And they
nice.
have this festival season where like foreigners and tourists can go into the palace and like dress up in traditional Korean clothes and have the like, tour programs, everything. They work with us to like put together the brochure and stuff and like how to and program books for those like foreigner tourism programs. That is often a lot of fun and requires a lot of localization because a lot of the names are from like old Korean times, from like from a long history, a long, long time ago. So they're like old words,
Mm.
archaic that we do not use in our daily lives anymore, and localizing that kind of things to a foreigner who is not familiar with that like background and concept and does not have a context of the Korean culture. That requires a lot of creativity. One of the most interesting projects that we work on and most Korean thing, I think.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. So yeah, these days there are a lot of people going to Korea, and yeah, that's actually something nice. People would like to see stuff in English and stuff, and it's
Mhm.
nice to see that you.
So if you're in the palace and you see like something like do not smoke here and do not do this or do that here, very likely my company did that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, yeah. I saw actually. This is just gonna go a little off topic. When I was in Japan, like the English I saw was a bit different than the Korean one. In the Korean one,
Mhm.
It kind of made sense, but in some areas, in tourist areas in Japan, so they just need to work on localization a little bit. That's just like my opinion
Hmm.
with English. So yeah, it's cool to know that you've helped with like old Korean heritage sites and you've
Hmm.
helped them localize. So yeah, it's good to do that because there's lots of people want to learn about culture and history. So
Yeah, I think it makes a like good example because we were talking about some like cases in Korea, and that just popped up in my mind first.
yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's always something nice to talk about. Yeah, so what I wanted to ask, so
Hmm.
since you've gave us a good example of how you've helped
Hmm.
a problem, like the translation stuff in a heritage site and how your company
Hmm.
has helped them translate to English. So
Hmm.
usually when you find new people, whoever they are, what is your process with them? So do you sit down with them? How do you introduce your services to them, and how do they come about doing business with you? So yet again, you can just tell us whatever you're comfortable with. So in terms of how do you tell them about the problem, and how do you go about saying like basically, yeah, we can do a good job.
Like, how do I start like working on the project in a work setting with the client that see for the first time?
Yes, basically, yeah. So if there's like let's say you've helped a heritage site, and let's say now there's a
Hmm.
different um, like a different field, like people in the other industries. So if you want to approach them and offer
Hmm.
your localization support, how do you go about that? So do you first of all give them some sort of like a free trial or something? And
Oh, so sometimes the teams already know what they're looking for. Like they have been running the localization project already, and they need a like new partner to work on it together. In those cases, it I don't need to explain much about the work process or how to make it systematical per se. In other cases, it is not familiar for them. They come to me with the first, like most likely the content that they think would need translation. And if they seek consult, I can like tell them this part and this part it is very much user facing. You would want like expert level human editing and localization here.
Hmm.
Maybe also like that could be our scope of work. But if you have like hard deadline and we need to work toward that hard deadline, like here are the options that we can do, something like that. So depending on their timeline, and especially timeline, if you are doing something um, like that, where the time, like the kind of things that where the timeliness is important for like for example, in the Korea Heritage Agency
Yeah.
tourist program that I mentioned, you have like that program dates are fixed, right? So you need to have your materials localized and be published at least by that day. So if you have a hard deadline, that's the biggest factor that I consider when offering options as well. Really depends on what it is that the customer is looking for. Like if it's a long-term thing, they want to have like long-term strategy together with us, or if they have that hard deadline and they need like things sorted out and sort out what's the like minimum that we have to localize by this point, etc.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for that. Yeah, that was quite insightful, and I think it'll be good for anyone who's pretty much trying to get into localization. And yeah, some
Mm-hmm.
tips there. So one thing just popped in my mind about the when you do localize stuff, like we're just going an example of the heritage site. In English, right, there's like different vocabulary and different what can I say when it comes to English, where you got US English, you got UK English, and so on.
Oh
And
yeah.
I know it's more about the mainly, do you do localization, is it in text format, or do you also do in audio as well? So can
We
how
do
do
audios.
you do it?
Um,
Right,
yeah, just like any format these days because not everything comes in convenient text format. Used to be like that many years ago, but not
right.
anymore. We do like audios, videos, subtitles,
Yeah.
etc., etc. Once we also like provided a voiceover just all together in a like turnkey service. After translating it, we put it into like captions in the original video, and then also they also wanted a voiceover, so we arranged that too.
Oh, right. Okay. And most of the
Yeah.
people, when you do like voiceovers and stuff, are they based in like US English or UK English? So in terms of the
Um,
vocabulary used, because like British English and compared to US English, there's different vocabulary. Like for example, lift, elevator, and so on. There are words
this
like
is
that.
very interesting. This is the kind of question that a Londoner would ask. You live in London, right?
Yes, I'm from UK. Yes.
I was not asked this question by Americans ever before. Um, Yeah, funny story. We usually go with American English unless there's like specific request to like as to the like target market. Like we're launching in this UK in the UK or we're launching this in Australia, etc. Unless there's that like specific needs that's communicated is almost always what you call American English
Oh,
in the UK.
yeah.
Yeah, funny thing, when I started off my career as an interpreter, the first company that I worked for as an interpreter was a company based in the UK.
Oh,
And and London, that was many, many years ago. And let's say London was not as diverse as it is
mm,
today, 10 years ago. And when I was in London, they would often make jokes about my American English and be like, oh, our interpreter speaks American English. Oh my God. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, yeah. Is that like supposed to be funny? I'm asking if we do an English, UK English
Yeah.
or American English. I think that's a very British question.
Yeah, so we're just going to touch on two parts. So first of all, when you started to, because I know in Korea and Japan, they both kind of use the American English learning system,
Mhm.
like TOEIC or something. I'm not entirely sure about,
Oh, yeah.
but when you
Tests and
started
stuff.
to,
Yes.
yeah, when you started to study English, whenever from childhood and everything, so what did you like? What kind of study material did you read? So was it more like American one? UK one. I mean, just and then what happened? I mean, so you could,
Korean English education system is very heavily based on
yeah.
American English. So
Oh,
that's what I studied with until I grew up. And but then once I went to the graduate school of interpretation and started working as an interpreter in the field, I
right.
naturally came across like the speakers presenting in English, but from different regions. So
Okay.
they were like people from all over the world, like Chinese,
Yeah.
Russian, Singaporeans, et cetera,
Yeah.
just presenting in English. So and like especially India,
Hmm.
because I started my career in the IT field. So I
Oh,
was an interpreter for an IT project. So I got used to many different accents, if you will. Um, I think the one that made me panic the most was Scottish.
right.
Yeah, and then like it was in this project. Most were Brits. They were mostly Londoners, and they said, "Oh, so we are like another guy is coming in tomorrow. Oh, by the way, he's from Scotland." And I was like, "Oh, Scottish English. I think I'm gonna resign as an interpreter today." Well, I survived. But yeah, accents. When you're actually in the work field, you get to learn that there are like so many diverse like versions of it. But when I grew up, it was solely American English.
Okay, right.
Okay.
You came from American English background, and then as you in your career, you've been to many countries. Like you said, you've did something in India, and
Mhm.
that's great. And yeah, just thinking about these cool questions to ask you now. So, can I go back to the first one? The second question that I was going to ask is,
Oh, yeah, what was it?
based on your like clientele and people you've worked with, do they have any special preferences when it comes to type of English they want localized? So basically compared to the US English and British English, what do they kind of prefer more? Like what's more popular? Like do they have any preferences or they don't care? They just say general English is all right. They don't care whether it's US, UK or wherever.
When not mentioned specifically otherwise, it is almost always US English.
Okay, okay. So that's the standard,
Yeah,
basically.
that's like the
Okay.
standard.
Right, I
In
see.
very rare cases, they would say this is specifically for the UK market and we want it like UK English style, but not very often.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds great. And just gonna go back to what I was gonna ask about you. So you said you were like in India as well. So what happened there? So you were saying
Okay.
studying there, or you did some sort of business there as well?
Oh, it's work.
Okay.
That's mostly for my trading work, import and export. I import in um, a lot of things, but mainly fabric and textile from India. I also work with a lot of like my Indian partners based in India. So I think I go there at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh,
It's a
right.
large, diverse, and fun place to be.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah. So that was basically we're gonna follow up to this question here about like
Mhm.
what services do JOEL Localization provide and the trading one. But the trading one you just mentioned is about importing stuff and exporting stuff.
Mhm.
We'll just go a little deep down on your service localization. So you said you do audio as well, or since we were talking
Mhm.
about audio. So can you just tell us about like what services you offer? So you've got you do audio, transcriptions, and yeah.
Audio transcription, translation, editing, review in terms of like things that's more toward the translation side. There's that, and then there's interpretation. It can be like consecutive interpretation, simultaneous interpretation for large conferences, and you can have an interpreter for your webinar as well.
Hmm.
For your
Oh,
seminar, like a corporate event and anything. Those are like key pillars. um, we can also do translation. Um, what was it? If you need it like certified, we have like certain certified translators as well that can like review and sign off, for example, legal documents translated. So that is a service that we can provide as well for localization. And with JOEL trading, it is interesting because see a lot of like overlap and good synergy between localization and trading service.
yeah,
Because like if you have a product, so like if you want to import or export, let's say you want to export your product and bring it into a global market, you will
yeah,
have to localize it, right?
yeah.
You'll have to localize
That's
it,
right.
and then you'll have need a retailer in that market, and with that retailer, you'll have to like have a contract, right? So you will need that translated. You may need an like interpreter with a lot of experience in that like legal communication settings in the process, and then you want to bring your localized product into the market. You may want to have a launch event, et cetera, and like keep following up on your marketing materials in in that area. So they two together make very good synergy, and I find it interesting to be running those two line of businesses and combining them.
Yeah, sounds great. It sounds like bread and butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you give bread, so you might as well give some butter as well, and that's where that comes.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
so giving the products and look because yeah, there are lots of people e-commerce and stuff when they
Mhm.
sell stuff they would need that kind of service. So yeah, that's great. And yeah, so yeah, thanks for that. And what we're just gonna do now is just talk about any cultural insights and pretty much. So in terms of any, let's start with a question with culture shocks. So since you've been
Culture
interacting with people, like you said, you've been to India,
shock.
you're based in Korea, but coming from a Korean background and then doing localization services and talking to international people. What culture shocks have you had? So one of the examples that you gave me when we were talking about, wait, let me just see here. Yeah. One of the examples that you gave me was that in English that the the British people were saying that you're too American and so on. So if you can
Yeah,
give us
but that
any.
was many years ago, so I guess they're more used to it now.
Okay. Right.
Um, Cases where I experienced culture shocks.
Yeah, so it can
Well,
be anything
there's
from just different cultures, understanding and how you've come across that in your work.
um yeah, interesting thing. I don't think I've ever been like really shocked about something because like these days you can always get the information about like whatever culture that you want to look into. There's that. Nothing really surprises me that much at this age, especially. And then like culture shocks is an interesting topic, but at the same time, I think like this country has this kind of culture, people behave this way. It's always an interesting discourse, but that can very easily lead to stereotypes as well. So I prefer that people go into the culture themselves and like they will get shocked by different things, even in like the exact same spot in like different culture. So I always think it is the best for people to actually go in yourself and grow your own thoughts and approach to what you observe compared to what you've been listening to.
Yes. So yeah, thanks for letting us know. So it's always nice to experience different cultures. You find more stuff about
Mhm.
it. And what we're gonna do is like we're just getting to the final stage now. And in terms of your, I'd say your opinion and your insights about like where is localization heading? And can you just tell us about that?
Okay.
Like whether it's using AI stuff, how is that um, combining that? And where, in your like opinion, where do you think that's heading?
Yeah, I get this question increasingly a lot in recent podcasts,
Right.
especially with the AI
Yeah.
thing and everything. Yeah, of course, translation is one of the fields that where the workflow has changed significantly with the using of AI technology, AI translation. Before that, we called it machine translation.
More, yeah.
And if not translation, like localization itself as well, like many steps of localization, just like any other management of projects, are being automated with like many different tools out in the market. I think it applies to almost all the industries these days. So where I think it is headed. Yeah, I've given it a lot of thought throughout last couple of years, and this might sound very abstract,
Mm,
um, but I think as AI become like increasingly capable of handling tasks, I think um, you will need more than like saying these and these, this and this are the tasks that I can handle, I can help complete, because that AI can do it much like, in a much faster way.
mm.
But then I think it will become more important for us to be clear about our intention and direction, both so like it can sound like very basic stuff, but both for yourself and within your team, so that you have that clarity in using AI and deciding how to use the AI and what for, and so that you can like stay grounded and use like different tools literally just as a tool to help you around amid a rapidly changing world. Yeah, and that's where I think it's headed. To be more general though, I
Yeah.
think I've mentioned this in this in my last podcast as well,
Right.
but I think the entry barrier will become higher at an exponential rate for those trying to newly enter the market, and a senior person will become responsible for a much broader scope of work, including tasks that require like long experience and expertise. And again, I think like we'll witness this in almost all the industry in near future, not just localization. So I think it is also a matter of which industry you're in, but it's also a matter of how you look at it and how you adapt to it.
Yeah, sounds cool. Yeah, so yeah, there's lots of stuff that's happening and
Mhm.
changing, and yeah,
Yeah.
so thanks for that. And what I'm curious about now is since people are using translation and AI is giving all of that, like, what do you think still needs that human touch when it comes to localization?
There are parts that where the information delivery is just enough, like user manuals or
Right.
like where the key purpose is just delivering the information. There you can like rely more on machine translation or AI translation. But the that's closer to the users and the parts that the kind of content that you want to represent your brand's identity and voice and what your brands pursue. I think those are the parts where you want more human touch in editing so that you make sure it really resonates in in that like target market that you are entering.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. And yeah, because when it comes to again, like localization and everything, like when you do meet people face to face, it's always a good thing that human touch is there and the other aspect.
Yeah.
And in terms of like staying ahead now, because now we've got AI and we've got
Mhm.
localization and everything, in terms of staying ahead of like trends, tech, and everything, how do you like stay up to date with that?
I read news every day, read or listen to. I have also podcasts and I have like daily subscription. I try to like be updated on like what's happening in the world on a daily basis. Sometimes when I'm really, really busy, I just like go through the headlines. But yeah, just keep your interest in what the world is doing. I think it requires a little bit of daily time investment, like ongoing.
Okay. Yeah, so that's good to know. Yeah, looking at the other podcasts, having newsletters, and it's always good to stay
Mhm.
ahead. And now we're just gonna just talk about in terms of when you're using like tech stuff. So again, trends is just looking at the news and stuff. So what tools do you use in your like daily work life and everything? So it can be anything from productivity, anything like that. So tools for your work, it's like such as like an Ocean, you've got these platforms. I mean, um, yeah, if you could just tell us about anything, any tool that you use that you like.
Well, right now we're using Zoom.
Right.
I use a combination of many different tools, but they're like at the same time specific to the localization industry, so may not be very interesting thing to share. Um, so yeah, those kind of video call platforms, I think those are the common ones on a daily basis. This is technically not a tool, but more of a methodology.
Right.
And it's a very old-fashioned one. Sometimes when I have to make myself work and like find it really, those days where I find like really, really difficult to focus on things, I do that like timer thing. What is it? Like tomato. It has name of it
Oh
like
yeah, time,
tomato
yeah, time
pasta
one. Yeah.
sauce.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it started with it's the tip of my tongue. I said like we already do like 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of break, right?
Oh yeah, I've heard of
The
that. The name
tomato timer. What was the name for it?
yeah, I know what you're talking about. The name just kind of went off my head. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like yeah. So it's more of a like methodology than like the tool. Very old fashioned. You can just like Google it and like it pops up. Just like it's very, very simple timer window. Sometimes classic helps as well.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, Eunnara. So what we're gonna do now is just go on to the next part. And our next part is we're just gonna pretty much talk about your daily habits and like any advice you have, your routine. So let's start with the first question. And so what's your morning routine like?
Morning routine, is it?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is interesting. Is it something that everybody like has and stick to, like on a daily basis?
Well, if you like spontaneous stuff, then that's all right. But it's just for, I mean,
Um,
any things that you do in the morning, like journaling
I'm
or
not,
work.
yeah, I'm not very strict about like routines. I used to do a bit of meditation. I need to go back to doing it. I haven't been doing it for a long time now, not because I do not like it anymore, but because I've become lazy. I want to go back to like a little bit of morning meditation. That helps. Almost always the first thing I just brush my teeth and then have coffee. I try not to open up my email inbox until I finish my morning coffee because I need that caffeine to start dealing with work. So, yes, tea and coffee, I think that's pretty much it. It's like
Mm.
very, I'm not even sure if I should be calling this routine.
Yeah, well, let's call it a ritual or something, or
Yeah.
maybe your daily habits in the morning. So usually, so when you have your coffee and everything, what time do you usually like to start? like work stuff? Like, is it like right in the morning, like 8 a.m., 9 a.m.? So what's your, do you have like a fixed time where you start?
There's no fixed time, and it can be early in the morning. I don't mind about that, but it has to be after I had my coffee, whatever
Okay.
that be.
That's all right. Yeah.
So sometimes like some conferences start at like very early in the morning, like one of those CEO breakfast meetings that brings together CEOs of like all the affiliates under like group umbrella. They start before their working hours. It's usually like 1 hour breakfast meeting, like start at 6 o'clock ish. So I try to always try to get to the conference venue at least an hour before. So it means I need to get there by 5 in the morning. So in that case, I will have my morning coffee before 5 in the morning. So it can be early in the morning, I don't mind, but it has to be after coffee.
Okay. Yeah, so that's nice. So you like, so basically whenever you have coffee, that's when your work starts. So that's great.
Yeah, basically,
And
yes.
yeah. And let's just talk about, are you into reading, by the way? Any books and stuff?
Yes, speaking of books, I've read a lot of books and yeah, there's many books that like I found very helpful and interesting, but like I want to talk about the latest one
Sure.
that I've been reading. It is actually right over here. Is Can you see it? Walking in My Shoes by my friend, my good friend Christine 2K. This is an interesting story because I first met her as her interpreter, and
Oh,
then now she's a very good friend of mine. And also interesting is I am translating the book, so it will be available in Korea soon too.
oh wow.
It is about her journey a as a working Asian woman in corporate America, tried to climb up the ladders of the corporate America and things that she goes through as an Asian woman. So it resonated with me a lot, um, especially now that I'm translating it. I highly recommend that you read it as your next book, should be your next one. But if you are a Korean listening to this, wait until I finish my translation and I'll let you know.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So
Mhm.
we'll get back on that, yeah, the book stuff and everything. But
Mhm.
yeah. And let's just talk about countries you've been to. So since we're on the topic of like your your basically your any advice and whatever travel hacks and everything. So let's talk about any countries, what countries you've been to for traveling. So you said have you been to UK?
Yeah, but that was almost always for work. So
Okay.
I never felt very excited and touristy when I was in London.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
like in the morning, a bunch of people, I
Yeah.
was headed to the office and I can see like a group of Korean tourists next to me. They're like super excited and hyped. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to the office. Can you tone it? Yeah, it was almost always because of work. Never felt like super touristy there. And like always, it was for some reason during the fall and winter, so it's really cold during that time in
Mm.
London.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I should maybe um give it a new chance and try visit when the weather's better and maybe I'll like it more. Yeah, so London for work.
Yeah.
Um, India pretty often.
Yeah.
I've been to Dubai because I received an award and they invited me to this like award ceremony and that was held in Dubai. That, w that place was nice too, many fancy stuff. Um, what else? I've been to many countries, including the States and some European countries, um, and also many Asian countries. Um, yeah, as a traveler or for work, both.
Yeah, it's you've been quite a few places. That's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, we touched on that. And do you have any hobbies? So in your free time, like any hobbies? Are you into like fitness? Well, you already like reading books. We know that, but do you have any additional hobbies that you like?
Um, I do yoga. I've been doing it for 10 years
Oh,
and yeah, 10 years. I also went on a yoga trip to Bali for a whole month and did yoga every day while I was there too. So that's a big thing. I also started running from like last year. So now I mix up like a little bit of um, cardio with running and yoga. That's fun. I do read the book sometimes. What do I do for fun? Oh, I try to like I used to take photos a lot and then I broke my camera. So it is no longer my hobby until my saving is big enough to buy another camera. So that's on hold.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, it's nice that you went to Bali, do some yoga there. It's always nice there. I've never went to Bali myself. It's one of those countries I'd like to see, so it'd be good.
No, it's a nice place. Mhm.
Yeah. And now we're gonna finish off this part. Is
Mhm.
from any book, like any self-development book or any philosophy, whatever, do you have any like thing that you follow? Do you have any favorite quote that you like from a book? It's like any, I'd say, like some sort of like a life principle or something. So what's your like favorite quote from a book? It can be any book. And yeah, if you could just, if you have any.
Um, it's from an essay by a Korean. So
Okay.
it won't be a direct quote, but I will
Yeah.
translate it on the
Oh,
spot
you
for
can
you.
say in Korean and you can say in English. There we go.
I don't remember the direct code, but I remember the message.
Yeah.
It translates into something like it's a very simple one. The way to become happy is to remember that you're happy. So if
I
you
like
like look at your life, there must be a lot of happiness just lying in there and that you're not noticing because you are like going through a rough patch or whatever. If you look closer to it and you will see happiness already there and you realize and you remind yourself, you remember that you're happy and that's the way to be happy. It's not in some far place, far away place.
Yeah, sounds quite nice. Yeah, I like that. It's like happiness is within, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
And
So
sometimes it is even more difficult to find it because it is within you and you know too much about yourself and you have to dig through too much of like whatever's inside of your head. But yeah, it is there, so just look it up.
yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just we're coming up to our last part now.
Okay.
Uh, for people, for our audience who want to connect with you, how can they do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm sure that you will tag me on LinkedIn when this goes up. My email is also on LinkedIn. My company website and like company blog is also there. LinkedIn should be the fastest.
Okay, great. LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's all right.
Mhm.
And what we're going to do to finish off is ask for any
Mhm.
general advice you may have for anyone who wants to get into localization. Let's say I want to get into localization or anyone. What things should they do? Like the first things in terms of localization. Now that we have, of course, AI and everything, it can
Mhm. Mhm.
a little head start in knowing the basics. But from
Mhm.
your opinion and your experience, what would you say?
I think even in this era of AI and automatic translation, being able to speak a foreign language has a very special power and skill in it because you can connect with people directly without going through another person or another device, technology, whatever it be. And that direct first-hand connection is what makes the relationship and connection special. And you keep building on that. So I would say like having the language skills, that is the beginning step. And if you have it and you want to start in working localization, you're at a good position. But at the same time, because like with the technologies and they are advancing at an exponential pace, I would also recommend that you stay open-minded about other skill sets that you can learn and combine together so that it can make a good synergy with your language skills. So being good at language, that's a very good thing, but see how it can like make a bigger value when combining with different capabilities that you can enhance.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, and I agree with that language. Knowing a language yourself is much better than just using a device because these days
Mhm.
anyone can just use AI, but if you know the language, that's great.
Mhm.
I actually know Japanese and I'm learning Korean, so I'm just doing
Mhm.
so. 안녕하세요. 한국어를 조금 한다. Yes.
Yes, you did.
Just so you know
I'll
that.
teach you a few more phrases when you're in Korea next time.
Yeah. Okay, so just want to say really appreciate your time, Eunnara. And I hope we see each other again. And yeah,
Of course.
okay. So thanks a lot.
So thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. And talk to you
Okay,
very soon again.
thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We hope you liked it. Please leave a review, subscribe, or share it to anyone you like. If you're a global founder, or as a professional, or a founder that is interested in doing global business, we would love to hear your story. If you would like to be featured on Bridging Talks, please email me at podcast@bridgingconnect.com, or you can visit our website bridgingconnect.com/podcast. I am your host, Majid Hashmi, and I will see you soon. Take care.